Mahomes acknowledging the crowd and what they've done and what they continue to do.
Chiefs 35, Titans 24. Austin Ryder snaps to Mahomes and a knee. He goes to a knee and a backflip by Demarcus Robinson. That is going to do it. 50 years of waiting.
Chiefs kingdom is special.
And the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. 50 years. 50 years.
Richard Sherman. Mahomes throws, pass caught. Williams, touchdown. Kansas City jumps on. Touchdown, Kansas City.
It's coming. Mahomes gets away. Puts his eyes downfield and fires and completes it. Kelsey, what else is new? And Kelsey with blocking inside the 20. Rumbling inside the 10. Look at this.
Kansas City.
Crazy.
Touchdown, Kansas City. Touchdown, Kansas.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Jaymes Howell's Chiefs Talk. I am your host, Jaymes Howell. Glad to have each and every single one of you here with us tonight. Or if you're catching the show on recording later on, glad you can make it by. Look, if you are here with us tonight, feel free to comment. Feel free to ask questions. We will pull your questions up on the screen. We're trying to keep up. We love to be able to communicate with the community. So, with all that said, let's get into the show. The Kansas City Chiefs are coming off a much-needed win against Washington. Patrick Mahomes seems to have found his magic he had lost. So we ask this question: is Mahomes back? As well as, I talk about what I believe to be the most impressive position group of the team so far. And then, the defense only allows 2 field goals and a singular touchdown, and completely shuts down Washington's offense in the second half. Is this defense finally getting it together? We talk about all this and more coming up next. What is going on, guys? Welcome back, Jaymes Howell's Chiefs Talk. I am Jaymes Howell, my co-host. To my left, Chase Riley. I actually got it right this time instead of doing this number. Hey, man, we're coming off this victory. It feels good, huh? Man, it almost feels like they got back on track a little bit. And, you know, it just feels good to be a Chiefs fan.
It does, man. That win was so nice. I haven't taken off my Mahomes jersey since Sunday. I haven't showered either. Just kidding. I did. I washed my ass. So
cool. So hey, look, real quick. You know, I don't necessarily like getting through this part, but Facebook algorithm says that I need to do it. If you have a moment, just take a quick moment. If you're enjoying what you like it, like the stream, like the show, share it, and go follow us on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. There's Jaymes Howell's Chiefs Talk. You can find me at Jaymes Howell 1. I'm also on Twitter, same thing, at Jaymes Howell 1. And YouTube, Jaymes Howell Sports. My buddy Chase here. He is, when he's not on this legendary podcast of ours, he's an insurance agent. And so you can find him on LinkedIn, or, you know, go follow him on Facebook, Chase Riley Sports, at C Riley Sports, and, of course, Twitter. All right, man. So I think that the defense has really been getting a hard time as of recently, and rightfully so. So I kind of want to talk to them because I want to give them props. They looked really, really good. And I know it's just, and the most common thing said is, oh, it's just a Washington team. They suck. Yeah, that's true. But they went out there and they took care of business and handled business like a good team should have. What you expect a good team to do to a bad team is what the Chiefs handed out. So, I think there was just, and a lot of changes were made, as far as the personnel on the field. And I think it's kind of working out. What's your take on it, buddy?
Well, to the ones that are like, well, it's the Washington football team. Doesn't matter. There's 32 teams in the NFL.
Sure.
They're at a professional level.
Sure.
Okay. Out of all the guys that play high school ball, the guys that go play college ball, and the guys that are lucky enough to get picked by the 32 teams in the NFL, I don't care how crappy they are this year. Even the 0-16 Lions from 2009 are still an NFL team. So anytime you beat an NFL team, that's a win. Yeah. So, and the Washington football team's defense is no pushover. So, yes, it was Washington. Yes, they're not as good as the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens who we've lost to, but they're still good enough to be in the NFL. And this is still a big victory for this team because go back and watch the film. This team clicked on all cylinders, and it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is a good game, and we kind of knew this going into the game. This was a good game for us to kind of get back on track.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they managed to do. And they made some adjustments, which it was really refreshing to see Andy Reid kind of make some adjustments. Not only Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, who of course is in charge of the defensive side of things. He made some adjustments, and the biggest adjustment, of course, was Daniel Sorensen. And so we heard before the game started that Juan Thornhill was going to start for Daniel Sorensen. And then I went around some of the groups I'm in, and there was a doubt that they were actually going to do it, that it was just kind of talk to calm down the fans. So, I went and looked at some things. Daniel Sorensen only played 35% of the snaps, while Juan Thornhill played all 100%. So, if you thought that they were just blowing smoke up our rear ends, you're wrong. You're wrong. They made significant changes, and it paid. I mean, it absolutely paid off. Not only the back end, but Rashad Fenton has kind of solidified himself as that cornerback on the other side of Snead as well. So the whole secondary is kind of pulling itself together. Your take?
I mean, agreed. We're looking at this team, and if you go back and watch that game, like I just made the comment that the team hit on all cylinders. Well, if you go back and watch it, the offense had a little bit of trouble, but it was great to see that the offense made adjustments at halftime, and the offense came out and they looked a lot more like that offense that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
So, and the defense, you're right. I mean, they made the call, which we've been calling for the past 2 weeks on this show, to give one, like, where is Juan Thornhill? He's not injured. He's not playing. But they made the adjustments. They got one in there, and we saw the difference that it made.
Yeah.
And we saw the difference. Nobody on this show was calling for Dan Sorensen to be fired. We like Dirty Dan. We know what Dirty Dan brings to the table. We just knew that he wasn't being utilized the way that he should have been utilized. And this week we saw him utilized that way. and the defense to me was more impressive than the offense in this game.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of difference that we saw from one week to another with this defense was just incredible. And I thought that it started to click a little bit in the Buffalo game, right? In the second half of the Buffalo game, they started to vibe a little bit and started playing a little bit more aggressively, and was just kind of flying around. And we come into this game, and it's almost like something just clicked. And now all of a sudden they're not thinking, they're just playing. And they're flying around. They're flying around everywhere, and they're playing fast. And because they're not having to think, they're playing fast. You know, Dirty Dan is used to be – there's a reason we call him Dirty Dan. It's because he's willing to get in there, do the dirty work, and get physical with the receiver. That's where he thrives. Get him back to where he was. That's what they did, and it's working. So, real quick, just go to a couple comments that are coming in. Connie Byatt, my mother, I appreciate you, Mama. She's here
Mama Bear in the house.
Every single show, she makes it. Of course, a lot of my family, I won't say all of them, not everyone can make it. My aunt, she makes it. Good evening to you. Donnie Ray, let's go. Nice to see you here again tonight, buddy. Shared, Tanya, shared, appreciate you. We really do appreciate that. That's a big help to getting into this Facebook algorithm.
Absolutely. You know, it's awesome to see you guys here. And absolutely, we want you all to watch the show and enjoy the show. But man, like, if you take 10 seconds to share it to your friends and just tell your friends to share it, come watch us. They don't have to watch us right now. They can watch us later. But the more people that share, the more people that are going to see it. And that's awesome for us. We appreciate that. Hell yeah.
So, you know, Donnie Ray said big one. A big one. Play on words there. David Lindsay, nice to see you in here, buddy. Can our defense stop the Titans this week? That's the question, right? That's the big question, is can they stop the Titans? And it's more about, can they stop Derrick Henry? Look, I think Nick Bolton is starting to take it to another level. And I think he's going to be a big factor in if we can stop Derrick Henry next week. You know, this week he has 9 tackles. He's flying all over the field. And he's got 1 tackle for loss. So, you know, he's able to get penetration into the backfield. And that's what we need him to do. That's exactly what we need him to do. And he's playing fast. You go back, you look at the film. He's playing fast. And I really think that if our linebackers can play well, and our defensive line, of course, but if our linebackers can play well, we can definitely stop Tennessee. Chase, we talked beforehand a little bit, and you had a really interesting perspective on it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, our rush defense, especially for this Chiefs team, that Chiefs fans have been used to for the past few years, our rush defense hasn't been as good as it should be. You know, even with guys like Chris Jones in the middle and whatnot. Now, what I will tell you is what I've noticed is every single time, you know, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, those guys that like to run on defenses, every single time they come to town, for whatever reason, man, this defense steps up. So is this going to be another situation where, you know, the landlord turns it on and you know, Chris Jones steps it up, Frank Clark steps it up, and they're able to contain Derrick Henry? Or is this where Derrick Henry breaks out?
Right.
Because that's what it boils down to.
Well, you know, that was the talk of the town last year in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And then what did the Chiefs do then? And I know this ain't the same team, but it is the same coach and it is the same scheme, and they do know how to scheme against Derrick Henry, because I believe he had like 68 yards. I had it pulled up earlier when we were talking about it, and I don't have it now, but he had like 68 yards in that game. We shut him down. And Donnie brings up a good point. Hit him high, hit him low, hit him low. Frank Clark nailed it last year. Just keep hitting him in his legs. Just keep hitting him as hard as you can, and his legs are going to get sore. Those pads that those guys wear on their legs are only a quarter-inch thick, a half-inch thick or so. You know, they're not very thick, maybe an inch or so, but they're not pads, you know.
Yeah. Big guy. I mean, what is he? 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah, you have to hit him low.
Yeah. And I might be sorry, I'm gonna look. You know.
Oh, you're fine.
Because he might be bigger than that. So the legs are, of course, exactly where you need to go on him. He's 6'3". So yeah, 6'3", and he's plowing through defenses. So yeah, hit that man low. Get him tired, and get him out of the game quick, and make Ryan Tannehill win this game. And I don't know if Ryan Tannehill can keep up with Patrick Mahomes.
Well, if it comes down to Ryan Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes will win out. Yeah. So, and that's what it boils down to. It's just get him to the point to where he needs a break. You know, even if it's one or two plays, in a half or in a quarter to where he needs a break, get him out of there and try to take advantage of the moments that he's out. So, David Lindsay, I see your question down there, buddy. We will get to that. We will get to it. I'll pull it up here in a little bit when we get over to the offensive side. So I've been to kind of get to the little next position here. Defensive line, like I've kind of been worried about the defensive line for quite some time. Chris Jones moving to the outside, that's old news. We've talked about that several times. Frank Clark has just one tackle. He has 2 QB hits. He didn't get a sack. But and then all
he's collecting the most money on the team this year.
Yeah, and it's just the whole team. Look, defensive line, 0 sacks recorded, 0 tackles for loss. 7 QB hits, so they're getting a little bit of pressure, but it's not really resulting in. And then it's just not resulting in any sacks. We're not getting home on it. So that's kind of got to short things out. So interesting thing was before we get on the show, we're scrolling through and whatnot, and I see Witness Marcellus mutually interested with the Kansas City Chiefs. He just recently got released from Houston. So it's not a trade situation or anything like that. How do you feel about that, being a veteran? He's 31 years old. He's a veteran pass rusher. And he knows what he's doing, and we could kind of use some help. So, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you said it. We could use the help. What are you going to give up to get him? Are you going to give up anything to get him? Money wise, you know what I mean? Like how much is it that how much is he going to take up?
Yeah, because we don't have much to spend. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, anything's going to help right now, because like I said, the guy who's taking up the most money this year at $25 or $26 million isn't doing shit.
Yeah.
And whether you swap him and Clark out and let him rotate on rushing, to kind of point out David's comment just now, not to back up to the Fortson thing, but to the one he just put up about they need help on the end and move Jones back on the inside. It's not going to happen. They're committed to it. Unless
if they do bring in Whitney, he'll go into a rotation. I would love to see it happen.
Yeah. It needs to happen.
And it might get to a situation, and it very well might get to a situation where a Daniel Sorensen situation, where there's enough pressure put on the organization by the fans. And we see this happen all the time out in like Philadelphia and the Jets and, just organizations that are known to have avid fan bases. We see it happen. And so, it might get to a situation to where they feel that pressure and they move him back inside. But I kind of agree. They're committed. They're committed to this, and it's going to take it's going to take Chris Jones more than 6 games to get adjusted to a new position.
Yeah.
And so they have to allow him time to get adjusted to that position. And I think they, like you said, they're absolutely committed to doing it. So barring injuries or something like that, I don't think it'll happen. Man, I think that's really, like I said, Rashad Fitton, secondary looked good. I think that's really it for the defense. I think they looked really good. Like I said earlier, 1 touchdown, 2 field goals, scoreless in the second half. And I think it's something to build on, to a little momentum going forward. And if they can keep playing like that, this team's going to be fine.
Yeah. So,
jump over to the offense. So Mahomes has a pretty good game. 32 for 47, 397, 2 TDs. We all seen that, but the biggest thing for me is 2 interceptions. One of them comes off the hands of Tyreek Hill. He's having issues this year. Tyreek is having a lot of issues catching the ball. And I don't know what the difference is between this year and the previous years or years back. Huh?
It's the gloves.
Yeah.
You saw he switched gloves after that interception.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, he needed to switch something.
Yeah.
So okay, so let me just kind of get everyone off of Mahomes' back, because I've seen some ludicrous comments going around about benching Mahomes. Okay. Yeah, he's having some issues with interceptions right now. And I think after that last one that he threw right before halftime, he went into the locker room embarrassed. He should have been. And he should have been embarrassed. But if you go and you look at the stats for this year, 3rd in total yards, 3rd in yards per game, 1st in TDs for the season. It's just the interceptions. He's the same Mahomes, but we knew, being the gunslinger that he was, or that he still is, that he's going to have strings of interceptions. He's going to have, bad 4 or 5 games where he has 6 interceptions. He's also going to go 8 games with no interceptions and 15 touchdowns. So quit with all the nonsense. To all you that's bench Patrick Mahomes' guys or whoever you are out there, stop it. Please get real with yourself. Besides that, now that I'm done with my little rant, I wanted to talk about who I thought was the best position group so far this year, and that is the offensive line. It's not the wide receivers. It's not the quarterback. It's not no one on the defense. It's the offensive line, and I think I just kind of want to give them a little credit. It's 5 new guys. We're 6 weeks in, and we have a top 5 offensive line statistically. So, I just kind of wanted to give them a little credit. What's your thoughts on things?
Well, like we mentioned, those that's a lot of talent on that line, a lot of money, a lot of draft picks. This is what we expect, and it's gonna get better. So it's
exciting. It's exciting to watch
compared to what we saw in the Super Bowl and whatnot. That's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's a direct result of why the running game is, obviously it's a direct result of why the running game is started to be able to establish itself. And if you go back and you look at every game played this year, the first play of every game is a running back draw. And I almost guarantee it. I put $50 down on it right now that the first play of next game will be a running back draw. And it's because they are adamant about establishing that running game. And because the way Andy Reid's offense works is we run the ball to set up the pass. But it's not the other way around, like the traditional standards of I said it wrong. Pass the ball to set up the run, not the other way around of running the ball to set up the pass. It's a little backwards, but that's how we kind of operate. And so we have to be able to get the running game going, or else they're going to drop 7, 8 guys in the secondary, and that's what we've seen the Ravens do. That's what we've seen the Chargers do. The Bills tried to do it. We got it together a little bit, but anyways, I'm rambling now. Let's get to Darrell Williams, right? So I think, what was your thoughts on the game that he had? Because I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you and I both kind of touched on this. I was excited for him. He looked great. For where Darrell Williams was on the depth chart last year and the year before, for him to come out and have that game to look like he belongs in this offense.
Yeah,
it was great for him.
Well, so the hot take is Darrell Williams going to take Clyde's spot? Is he going to take over Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
The hot take on that is Clyde doesn't have a spot. Like we touched on this show, or like I've mentioned on this show, a running back's not going to come in this offense and have 20 plus carries.
Yeah.
This
is going to be a rarity.
Yeah. Trust me, this is Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy will spread the ball around. Everybody will get an opportunity to touch this ball.
Yeah.
And so nobody's going to take anybody's spot. That's just the great thing about this offense, especially when they mesh together, is everybody's going to get. It's an episode of Oprah.
Right.
You're going to get a touchdown. You're going to get a first down. You're going to get a first down.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get around. So,
yeah. And even with Clyde in, look, okay, so if when Clyde comes back, I know Darrell Williams looked good, and I was really impressed with him. He was setting up his blockers. He had incredible patience in the red zone to be able to get in for a touchdown. So he still ends the day with 21 carries, 62 yards. That's only a 3.0 average. Clyde's been running at like a 6.0 the entire time. Okay, so minus the first 2 games. I'll say minus the first 2 games. But since this offensive line has kind of been getting it together and starting to click, he's running at like a 6.0 right now. No way, if there was a spot to be had, I know he looked good. He doesn't take over a spot. He's not moving anyone down the depth chart. It's just I don't think it's going to happen. So While we're on the topic of running back, Derek Gore was brought up from the practice squad before the game. So there was a lot of questions going around whether or not he would get some playing time. And he did. He didn't get any playing time as a running back, though. So Derek Gore came up and he played in the special teams and kind of just took over the snaps of Jerick McKinnon and Darrell Williams. It's traditional Andy Reid. Everyone just kind of moves up a little bit, It's just next man up. So as disappointing as it was, I did kind of want to see him get some snaps. You called it. He's not gonna run the ball. You called it on last week's show. He's just not gonna run the ball. Let's see. David Lindsay, I want to go back to your question here. Both of these.
Yeah, I think we skipped over his Fortson one.
Yeah. Do you think Fortson being out is going to hurt our red zone offense? We were using him a lot to be another big body in the end zone. And then he also says, and I think these two kind of tie together, I'm ready to see more of Gordon. He could be a solid number 2 wide receiver once he gets the playbook down. I think we will see more of Gordon, especially because Jody Fortson went out.
Yep.
I think you're absolutely right, David. Fortson has become a big target. We've seen him high point his only catch of the game, for 27 yards. He high pointed it. It went up, climbed the ladder, like the commentator said, and went and got that ball. And that was huge. Unfortunately, and it makes me hurt for the guy, honestly, because I'm a big Jody Fortson fan. It's like rooting for Rudy. He's got a heart of a champion, and he's made huge strides over the past year. And so he's out more than likely for the entire season with an Achilles injury. I do think we will see more of Josh Gordon. Because Josh Gordon is a big body in the red zone, and he'll kind of, not to say he's going to run tight end snap or tight end routes, but he'll be targeted more in the red zone and take some of those targets from what Fortson would get. As far as him being wide receiver 2, I don't think we're there yet. Once he gets the playbook down, maybe. But what I have noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this, Chase, but McCole Hardman has absolutely stepped it up since they put a little bit of pressure on him, put a little bit of competition on the roster, and he's responded to that pressure in an extremely positive manner. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you get comfortable, like McCole looked like he looked, you bring in a guy like Josh Gordon, it's pretty clear why Josh Gordon was there. Josh Gordon is either there to help or he's there to take your job.
Yeah.
So it's time to step it up a little bit, So I mean, and that's the great thing about these guys, Listen, if Gordon's going to come in and take McCole Hardman's job, then McCole Hardman's going to make him work for it, and that's good, man. Because we haven't seen that side of McCole Hardman yet, and you can tell that he is playing with a little bit of more oomph this week, the past couple weeks.
Yeah,
he's playing like he's got something to play for, and I think he can tell it's his job.
So, well, I think he went a little bit under the radar because we got our butts kicked last week. But against Buffalo, 9 receptions and 76 yards.
Yeah,
and then this week he gets another 4 for 62, and his longest is that 49-yard bomb.
Yeah.
So I think he's trying to carve out his own role, and Demarcus Robinson just wasn't applying the pressure that needed to be applied. And nor do I think Demarcus Robinson is on this team next year. I think he's gone. So did you notice Mike Rimmers going back to the offensive line? Mike Rimmers takes over for Lucas Niang. You think that's just this game? Because everyone's kind of making it out to be like it was just this game. Niang was a little beat up. We weren't going to take no chances. Or do you think Mike Rimmers is kind of taking over?
Well, with Rimmers, I've never seen Rimmers show me something to say that he would be the starter on this team. But could I see it happening? Maybe this year. Maybe they read the Niang thing wrong.
Yeah.
I still see Reed going with Niang. Of course, you're gonna see switch ups, and Rimmers is gonna be in rotation. But as far as starting goes, I think Niang is gonna keep that unless there's an injury or something drastic happens.
Yeah, I think talent wise, the way they view these guys is basically equal. Niang is the younger of the two, and he is the future. So they want to get him some reps. And they also, he was banged up. He had like a hamstring injury. He practiced, but he was listed on the injury report and whatnot. But they want to get him some reps. But the fact that they switched out so easily with such little reason, like a hamstring, like even though he was fully participating and they still didn't let him play, lets me know that I think that they're equal as far as talent, as far as their evaluation goes of talent, which is good, man, because if something happens, then there's no fall off.
Yeah.
We have the depth to back that up, which is something we seriously lacked last year on the offensive line. So, what else, bro? What else you want to talk about? I think that's about it, huh? We look forward to next week, and we got the Titans. Derrick Henry's going to be a pain in the butt. I think we have the secondary to address how this gets taken care of. I think we have the secondary to put 8 men in the box. Julio Jones is not the same Julio Jones he once was. And then they got A.J. Brown. He's decent. But I would make Ryan Tannehill throw the ball. And I think we have the secondary to stack the box. And if they do run the ball, we just prioritize it. So, you got any predictions or anything for next week?
Man, I'm going with the Chiefs, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm going 42-41.
Dang. Super, super close. 42-41. Okay, well, this will be the first time I've done this all year. I'm going with Tennessee. Yeah, I'm an avid Chiefs fan. I will go again. I think that Tennessee will win this game. I think Derrick Henry is just going to be too much for this defense to handle. They don't quite have it together yet. I will say 38-35 Tennessee. So, all right, guys. David, Connie Byatt, Mama Bear, Tanya, Donnie, everyone else that joined in. I appreciate y'all. It was a blast. It was a blast, huh? Join us next time. We love to have you guys on here. We do this just for fun. We don't get paid to do it, anything like that. And when you guys get on here and you react, you comment, you get on here and talk to us, it makes it more fun. It makes it all the more fun. Chase is a great guy, but I like to talk to other people too every once in a while.
Heard that.
So, look, any closing thoughts, buddy?
No, man. Like I said, I think I think everybody's still a little hungover from that win. Because it was, while yes, it was against a not so good team, it was still a win. It was still a much needed win and much needed chemistry that team needed put together to get fans excited again. I'm excited. I know a bunch of people are. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they put together against Tennessee, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, this is a good little litmus test. It's a good little test for them.
Yep.
Tennessee, I don't quite consider elite. I don't think they're AFC the number 1 seed contender or anything like that. They are a very good team. And they've had some poor moments, but they are still a good team. And so, I'm excited to see if we can build momentum into this game and really get back to seeing the Chiefs that we've all grown accustomed to over the past couple years. So,
Yeah.
All right, guys. With that, we are out of here. We love it. We'll see you guys later. And as always, stay legendary, my friends.